Welcome back to The Explainer. So today we're diving into an event that feels like the end of a long journey, but it was actually the start of a pretty fascinating masterclass in professional communication. Picture this, right? Qatar 18, a massive commercial jet, just finished an exhausting long-haul flight. The wheels touched down safely at SFO, San Francisco International. For the passengers in the back, the journey is basically over. You know the drill. People are clapping, unbuckling, checking their phones. But as we're going to see, the real heavy lifting for the flight crew was literally just getting started.
And that brings us to this really interesting question. Why on earth did a completely safe, totally routine airport taxi go viral? Seriously, think about it. There was zero emergency here. No sparks flying off the runway, no blown tires. It was just an uneventful, incredibly slow drive to the parking gate. But somehow, this mundane little taxi grabbed the internet's attention in a massive way. To get why this blew up, we really need to look at what was happening behind the scenes, or, more accurately, what was happening over the radio waves. So let's look at Section 1, Arrival at San Francisco, and the hidden challenge after landing. Now, while the passengers are just chilling out after touchdown, the flight crew up front is actually entering their absolute most demanding phase. Navigating SFO requires some intense focus. I mean, the second that aircraft exits the runway, air traffic control is rapid-firing a sequence of taxi instructions. And SFO has this crazy complex taxiway layout, plus there's a ton of heavy aircraft and ground vehicle traffic all over the place. Because it's so dense, there's a strict requirement for absolute precision on every single turn. One wrong turn, you're looking at a massive logistical nightmare, or, a very serious safety hazard. Which leads us perfectly into Section 2, the viral misunderstanding, and what the internet actually got wrong here.
Okay, so there's this really passionate community of aviation geeks, and I say that completely affectionately, who love listening to live air traffic and trace streams. Well, when they heard the Qatar 18N pilots actively asking for route clarifications, a lot of them jumped to conclusions. They assumed they were listening to a struggling aircraft. People thought, oh, the crew must be lost or overwhelmed. But the reality? These were highly professional pilots operating with absolute total precision. They were flawlessly doing exactly what they were trained to do. Because the golden rule is this. Whenever there's even a fraction of a doubt, crews ask ATC to repeat or confirm instructions instead of just assuming. Think about it. In our daily lives, if we mishear our car's GPS, we might just guess. We take the next right turn and hope for the best, right? But in commercial aviation, guessing is a total no-go. Asking for clarification isn't some sign of incompetence. It's a super deliberate action designed to completely eliminate guesswork from the entire equation.
All right, let's step inside the cockpit for Section 3, the protocol of precision.
So what was actually going down over those radios? Well, it's this heavily structured, very rigid communication loop that keeps everyone safe. First, ATC issues the instructions. Then, if there is literally any doubt whatsoever, the pilots request clarification. After that, and this part is absolutely crucial, the pilots read back every single instruction correctly to the tower. The aircraft only starts moving again when the crew is 100% certain of the route. It's a continuous loop, and it's a literal lifesaver. But hey, we can't forget the folks on the other side of the mic. The controllers were actually coordinating with a bunch of other aircraft at the exact same time they were carefully guiding Qatar 18N through the busy airport. This super careful pacing let ATC maintain safe separation between Qatar 18N, dozens of other planes, and all those little airport ground vehicles. It's basically a massive high-stakes puzzle being solved in real time, just using clear, methodical speech. Let's step back for a second and look at Section 4. Why aviation remains safe. The big picture. This highly specific, seemingly totally mundane incident perfectly captures the whole culture of global commercial aviation. After getting a few more instructions, Qatar 18N pulled up to its gate without a single issue. Zero drama. The whole thing became so popular online precisely because it showcased the sheer professionalism of absolutely everyone involved. People online recognized that this slow, meticulous method works exactly as intended to keep us out of harm's way. The absolute biggest takeaway here is this. In aviation, safety always comes before speed, and asking for clarification is never a mistake. That is the holy grail of flying. We live in a world that is just obsessed with speed, right? We want efficiency, we want to rush to the finish line. But up in the air, rushing is the ultimate enemy. Absolute certainty is quite literally the only metric that matters. And that really gets to the core of commercial aviation's safety culture. We're talking about a system built entirely on crystal clear communication, eliminating all assumptions, and always prioritizing absolute certainty. And because the industry sticks to this system so relentlessly, commercial aviation stays one of the safest ways to travel on the planet. Honestly, I hope this is reassuring. These rigid standards, all that constant checking and rechecking, that's exactly why you can sleep soundly on your next flight. So, I'm going to leave you with this final thought to chew on. Next time your plane lands and you're taxiing toward the gate, and suddenly the plane just stops and sits there for a few minutes, are you going to worry? Or are you going to feel safer, knowing that up in the cockpit, professionals are actively refusing to make assumptions? Knowing they're prioritizing your safety over saving a few seconds? I know for sure I'll be feeling a whole lot more grateful for that pause. Thanks for hanging out with me on this explainer, and hey, remember to keep asking those clarifying questions in your own life.